moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing.
You know, there's a short life in
Why do you think that is with the creative side?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take. You're going through so much to try and deal with life.
Sean Diddy Combs has long been a name synonymous with extravagance, success, and an unparalleled presence in the music industry. But behind the facade of wealth and power lies a darker narrative that has been whispered about for years, and now those whispers are turning into roars. Among the most jaw-dropping allegations to surface is the peculiar and deeply unsettling relationship Diddy allegedly shared with Usher, one of the brightest stars to emerge under his mentorship. The details, if true, are a far cry from the polished image Diddy has worked so meticulously to maintain.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
Let's rewind to the early days of Usher's career, back when he was just a teenager with a voice that could stop people in their tracks. Usher was barely out of his early teens when Diddy took him under his wing, promising to mold him into the next big thing. And while on the surface it seemed like a dream come true for the young artist, scratch a little deeper, and you'll find claims that paint a much more sinister picture of what went on behind closed doors. Usher himself has never been shy about admitting that his early experiences with Diddy were, to put it mildly, unconventional. But what he's hinted at over the years has left fans and industry insiders alike questioning just how far those unconventional practices went. One of the most talked about revelations came during a resurfaced interview where Usher casually recalled being sent to live with Diddy as a young boy. At the time, it was framed as an opportunity for Usher to learn the ropes of the music business, to shadow one of the most successful moguls of the era. But the stories Usher has shared about those days are anything but ordinary. According to Usher, his time under Diddy's roof was filled with experiences that no teenager should be. He described attending wild parties and witnessing behavior that was so out of bounds that it left him in shock. And the way he spoke about it, half laughing, half uneasy, only added to the intrigue. Was it nervous humor, or was he trying to downplay something much more troubling?
Right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
While Usher has never gone into explicit detail about what happened during those formative years, his cryptic comments have fueled years of speculation, and it's not just Usher's accounts that raise eyebrows. Insiders in the music industry have long whispered about Diddy's so-called mentorship style, which allegedly blurred the lines between professional guidance and personal overreach. The question is, why would someone as powerful as Diddy need to bring a teenager into his home in the first place? Was it really about grooming a young talent for stardom, or was there something more self-serving at play? Adding fuel to the fire are the anecdotes shared by those who claim to have been close to the situation. Over the years, unnamed sources have alleged that Diddy's mentorship often came with strings attached, strings that left young artists feeling indebted and, in some cases, trapped. For Usher, those early years under Diddy's watchful eye seemed to have left an indelible mark. Even as he skyrocketed to fame, there was always a sense that he was carrying the weight of something unspoken, something that may have started during his time in Diddy's orbit.
That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once they're fluid,
And then there's the infamous clip from a reality television show where Diddy himself casually mentioned sharing a bed with Usher. It was a fleeting comment delivered with the kind of offhandedness that suggested it was no big deal. But to viewers, it was anything but. The idea of a grown man sharing a bed with a teenage boy, even in a mentor-mentee relationship, raised immediate red flags. Diddy tried to laugh it off, brushing it aside as harmless, but the damage was done. The clip went viral, and suddenly, people were looking at Diddy's relationship with Usher in a whole new light.
That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, pause, but like, check this out.
What's even more perplexing is how Diddy has handled these allegations over the years. Rather than addressing them head-on, he's largely chosen to ignore them, letting the rumors swirl unchecked. It's a strategy that has worked for him in the past. After all, his empire has survived countless controversies. But in the age of social media, where nothing stays buried for long, His silence has only added to the sense of mystery and suspicion. Why hasn't he come out to clarify the nature of his relationship with Usher? Why hasn't he taken steps to put these rumors to bed once and for all? Some argue that Diddy's reluctance to address these claims is a calculated move, a way to keep the focus on his business ventures rather than his personal life. Others believe it's a sign that there's more to the story than he's willing to admit. Whatever the case may be, one thing is clear. The questions surrounding his relationship with Usher aren't going away anytime soon. In fact, they're only growing louder. Usher, for his part, has managed to carve out a successful career despite the shadow of these early experiences. But even as he's gone on to become one of the best-selling artists of all time, there's a sense that those early years with Diddy are a chapter he'd rather not revisit. And who can blame him? The allegations, the rumors, the unanswered questions, they all point to a dynamic that was anything but healthy.
Stevie J, the Usher part, that's a touchy situation, man.
As the spotlight on Diddy intensifies, with new allegations surfacing almost daily, the stories about his past relationships and behavior are taking on new significance. What was once dismissed as industry gossip is now being re-examined in the context of a much larger narrative, one that paints a picture of a man who allegedly used his power and influence in ways that were far from ethical. And while Usher may never fully open up about what really happened during those years, his silence speaks volumes. It's a silence that leaves room for speculation, for doubt, and for the kind of questions that demand answers. But if you think the allegations about Usher are jaw-dropping, just wait until you hear what's coming next, because the stories about Diddy don't stop here. They only get darker, more complex, and more troubling as the layers are peeled back.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on.
And just when you thought the trail of chaos couldn't spiral any further, another layer of Diddy's tangled web reveals itself. This time, it's not just about the young artists he allegedly mentored. It's about the power he wielded over them, the manipulation, the control, and the devastating ripple effects that left careers shattered, reputations ruined, and a trail of disillusionment that still haunts the industry. This isn't just a story of ambition gone wrong, it's a story of exploitation masquerading as opportunity, where dreams were dangled like bait and taken away just as quickly. Take 50 Cent, for example, a name that has become synonymous with unapologetic bluntness and hard-earned success. But rewind to the early days of his career and you'll find a young artist who, like so many others, found himself pulled into Diddy's orbit. On the surface, it looked like a golden opportunity. What rising star wouldn't want to rub shoulders with one of the most powerful figures in music? But according to 50 himself, it didn't take long for the cracks to show. He's been vocal, relentlessly so, about his discomfort with Diddy's behavior, recounting moments that left him uneasy and questioning what he'd gotten himself into. From unsolicited offers of lavish gifts to overtures that felt more personal than professional, 50 Cent has painted a picture of a man whose mentorship came with strings that no one wanted to untangle.
Just different things that's not really beef though, that's just competitive.
Competitiveness. All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
okay.
like that.
But 50 wasn't the only one to see through the facade. The Game, another rapper whose career intersected with Diddy's, has also hinted at the darker side of their interactions. And then there's Method Man, whose name has been dragged into the conversation in ways that suggest he, too, felt the weight of Diddy's influence. They're part of a larger pattern, one that suggests Diddy's power wasn't just about making or breaking careers. It was about control, about pulling the strings in a way that left those around him feeling more like pawns than partners. And let's not forget Meek Mill, whose connection to Diddy has been the subject of endless speculation. From yacht parties to questionable interactions caught on camera, Meek's experiences with Diddy have raised more than a few eyebrows. There's a clip that made the rounds not too long ago, showing Diddy congratulating Meek in a way that felt off. The tone, the words, the body language, it all added up to something that didn't sit right with viewers. And the fact that Meek hasn't exactly rushed to defend Diddy speaks volumes. Silence, after all, can be deafening.
I'm gonna tell you why 50 is literally is a diabolical genius. And he's.
But here's the kicker: for every artist who's spoken out, there are countless others who haven't, or who can't. The whispers about Diddy's infamous parties, about the so-called networking opportunities that left young rappers feeling anything but empowered are too numerous to ignore. These weren't just parties. They were tests, challenges, traps even. And the price of admission wasn't just your talent. It was your willingness to play by Diddy's rules, no matter how twisted they might be. The lawsuits piling up against Diddy in recent months have reached a crescendo that even he can't ignore. What started as whispers of misconduct has now erupted into a full-blown legal nightmare. Among the most explosive claims is a recent lawsuit filed by a former Bad Boy Records artist who alleges that Diddy's business practices went far beyond controlling contracts. The suit paints a damning picture of a mogul who allegedly exploited his artists not just through unfair deals, but through coercion and psychological manipulation. The artist, whose identity remains anonymous for now, claims they were subjected to relentless pressure to attend events and gatherings where their participation was less about career advancement and more about serving Diddy's personal agenda. The documents filed in court suggest this wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a calculated strategy to maintain dominance over those in his orbit.
Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
And then there's the ongoing fallout from the lawsuit filed by Cassie, Diddy's former partner, which was settled almost as quickly as it was announced. While the terms of the settlement remain undisclosed, the lawsuit itself laid bare allegations so shocking that they've left a permanent stain on Diddy's reputation. Cassie accused him of years of emotional manipulation, claiming he used his influence not only to control her career, but to isolate her from those who might have provided support. The suit also referenced incidents at some of his infamous parties, suggesting that what went on behind closed doors was far from the glamorous image he portrayed to the world. Even though the case is officially closed, its repercussions are still rippling through the industry, with more and more people stepping forward to share eerily. Another lawsuit that's turning heads involves a male music producer who claims that Diddy crossed every imaginable boundary during their professional relationship. Filed just months ago, this case alleges that Diddy used his status to create a hostile and predatory work environment. The producer's testimony is filled with allegations of unsolicited advances and coercive behavior, painting a picture of someone who wielded his power not just to intimidate, but to humiliate. These claims have sent shockwaves through the music community, sparking debates about how much of Diddy's empire was built on genuine talent versus how much was sustained through fear and control.
Documentary, I think a lot of people thought that he was just joking around. It turns out he's not, so this is actually a real project that's being made under his G-Unit movie.
Perhaps the most alarming aspect of these legal battles is the sheer number of people coming forward, emboldened by the growing list of accusations. A high-profile attorney recently revealed that he's representing over 100 individuals with claims against Diddy, ranging from former employees to artists, who say they were manipulated into signing contracts that stripped them of both creative and financial control. This isn't just about one or two disgruntled voices. It's a collective outcry from people who feel they were exploited by someone who held all the cards. The scale of these allegations suggests that Diddy's influence extended far beyond the studio, into every facet of his artists' lives, leaving many questioning how such behavior was allowed to continue for so long. And it doesn't end there. Court filings from a recently unsealed indictment reveal even more disturbing claims, including allegations that Diddy kept extensive documentation of his interactions with those in his circle. These documents, if they exist, could provide the missing puzzle pieces that tie together years of allegations into a cohesive and damning narrative. Investigators are reportedly combing through mountains of evidence, and while nothing has been confirmed yet, the possibility of explosive revelations looms large. If these allegations hold any truth, they could mark the final unraveling of a man who has long been shielded by his wealth and influence.
I'll tell you, I don't know how much, I don't like to say things that I know unless I see it. That there's a little difference, but was it discussed? Was there descriptions from people I know that were at those? Yes, but here's another thing. So how many of these big entertainment parties and over the years and everything with successful as you are, have you been around? Does anyone ever come up to you at a certain hour and say, okay, it's time to go? At those parties, they did.
The allegations don't stop at manipulation. They extend to a level of control that borders on predatory. Stories have emerged of artists being flown out under the guise of career opportunities, only to find themselves in situations that had little to do with music and everything to do with power dynamics. And the most chilling part? Diddy's alleged ability to hold these moments over their heads, ensuring their silence with the implicit threat of what could happen if they spoke out. So it's a game as old as the industry itself, but in Diddy's case, It seems to have been played with a level of precision that's almost terrifying. And then there are the receipts, or at least the rumors of them. Videos, photos, recordings that allegedly document these interactions, these parties, these moments that so many have hinted at, but few have dared to describe in detail. If these receipts exist, they could be the smoking gun that finally unravels the empire Diddy has built. But for now, they remain just out of reach, tantalizingly close yet frustratingly elusive. What's perhaps most telling is the way Diddy's peers have responded, or not responded, as the case may be. The silence from some of the biggest names in the industry is deafening. Are they protecting him, protecting themselves, or are they simply too afraid of what might come to light if they speak out? It's a question that hangs over this entire saga, and one that only adds to the sense of unease surrounding Diddy's legacy.
All lies will be exposed, that's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong.
At the heart of it all is a man who has built his career on charisma, on charm, on the ability to make people believe in the dream he was selling. But as more and more stories come to light, that dream is starting to look more like a nightmare. The question now is whether the truth will finally catch up to him, or whether he'll continue to dance around it, as he has for so many years. So what do you think? Is this the unraveling of one of the most powerful figures in music, or just another chapter in a career that's been defined by controversy? Let us know your thoughts down below, and as always, stay tuned. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that the story is far from over. See you in the next one.